Now, the White House says the US and Israel have discussed new military deployments to defend Tel Aviv against threats, including ballistic missiles and drones. Now, the measures were discussed in a phone call between US President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday. But both Tehran and Hezbollah have vowed to avenge this week's attacks in Lebanon and in Iran as well. Now, David Roches is a professor at the National Defense University. He's also a former NATO Operations Director in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Now, David, ironclad is how the US has been describing its support to Israel. But in this latest phone call between Joe Biden and discussing this with the Israeli Prime Minister, new defensive military deployments, what do you think that means, and what could that even look like?
I think it looks an awful lot like what was deployed in April 13th. So historically, when the United States provides its actual forces in supporting Israel, it's usually in a high-end defensive role. So Patriot air-to-air or ground-to-air missile batteries in Operation Desert Storm. April 13th, what we saw was significant air-to-air capabilities involved in acquiring, tracking, and defeating Iranian drones and missiles. Shipborne anti-missile capability, which would defeat the more sophisticated, higher-end Iranian missiles that Israel has limited capability against, and assistance with countries who want their aerial sovereignty respected so that Iran can't overfly it, such as Jordan. So I think that's what we'll see, as well as a significant electronic warfare and probably intelligence support.
So it sounds like they're looking at potentially covering all bases there. Now, in terms of Iran's response, it seems it would be up against it. I mean, what do you think Iran's options actually are militarily?
Well, the question is, how much risk is Iran willing to take of a direct attack against it? So the Israeli response to April 13th was extremely precise. They took the most expensive, most advanced air defense system guarding the Iranian nuclear weapons development facility, their most important target, and they destroyed the radar, which nullified the entire system. So that was several hundreds of millions of dollars down the drain. That was basically a demonstration of capability. They will be limited really only by their imagination. As we've seen, the Iranian security apparatus is inefficient at dealing with Israel. The Revolutionary Guard is very good at co-opting Arabs to fight Israel, but in terms of actual security in itself, they seem to be more concerned with their commercial involvement and, dealing with women who let their hair show in public. The number of failures is really quite astounding in the Revolutionary Guard. So I think if Iran provokes Israel in a way that leads to a massive response, they're going to get something they don't want. What that leads me to believe is that there will be some token missile and drone launches. I think it's probably unlikely it'll be on the scale of April 13th, and most of the fighting, as before, will be conducted by the Arab proxies on behalf of their Persian masters.
Thanks very much, David Roches, there, a professor at the National Defense University. So much to unpick there. We didn't get a chance to talk about Hezbollah, but perhaps next time. Thanks very much, David, for joining us.
I'm sorry. Thank you for having me.